I obviously love Yu-Gi-Oh! You know what I'm starting to love? Cardfight Vanguard. I started watching it back when the anime first aired, and it was somewhat refreshing to see a new card game anime. What I found most interesting of it all was that it was just all monsters. Like, there's no spells, there's no traps, it's just all monster cards. And all the cards have this sick-ass full art on them. Like, it's amazing. They recently released a sort of reboot for the series, which is, I think, closer to how the manga was. So I've been watching that and I've really gotten into it recently, and it even convinced me to buy some cards. I mean, come on, they even have an entire booster pack where it's just cute ass anime chicks. But enough of this fake Yu-Gi-Oh shit. My top 10 favorite Yu-Gi-Oh monsters. Number 10, Luster Dragon. I don't really have much of a logical reason for liking Luster Dragon. It's a pretty cool looking card with, 1900 attack, which makes a pretty solid beat stick. I mean, at least it did in my day when I used to use it a lot. And it's a dragon, it's a normal type, so it has some nice support. But none of those reasons are why I actually like Luster Dragon. Granted, its stats were great to have in, the many decks that I used it. I like Luster Dragon just because of its name. It has luster in it. I used to really like Black Luster Soldier growing up. So much so that I even came up with my own handle, Luster Knight, which I mainly use in Halo 2, honestly. And it's even my channel's URL, because that used to be my username. It's silly, but at least Luster Dragon's a pretty dope, cool card. Aside from those weird-ass, talon-ass insect legs it has. Number 9, Masked Hero Blast. I probably should just warn you, starting from here, most of this list is just going to be all fusion cards. I don't know what it is, I just really like fusion monsters. And on top of really liking fusion monsters, I also like the Hero series. So you can best believe most of the cards on this list are either going to be a fusion, or hero, or both. I just fucking love hero cards. I didn't always. I used to hate Jaden and Elemental Heroes, but that's because I was watching the dub of GX, which was really bad. And on top of that, when Heroes actually came out, they had really shit support early on. But after watching the sub version of GX about 3 times over, and then the big GX expansion in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, it's kind of been a wrap. I've just been using Heroes left and right. I was hella excited when they released the main box, Valiant Souls, because we got some masked heroes. Granted, most of them were Goka and Vapor weren't really that great, but we did get Anarchy, who was, main meta deck for a good amount of time. Probably one of the best decks I ever played. None of that really matters. The main reason why I like Masked Hero Blast is because I just think Masked Heroes look so damn cool. Of all the Masked Heroes, I think the coolest looking one is Masked Hero Blast. Not so much that I've even used Masked Hero Blast, or do I even think he's, really viable? Do I even think he has a good effect? I just think he looks hella dope. Number 8, Vermijin Sparrow. This one might be a bit of a surprise if you haven't seen any of my Yu-Gi-Oh! Eternal Duelist Soul or Sacred Cards videos. If not, you can see some links in the description under this video. Also, the weird random thing in the top right of your screen. If you're on desktop, also, I think on mobile. But I have a firm liking to Vermijin Sparrow. I've built random fusion decks just to actually bring him out using Rampardos. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that wrong because I keep mixing him up with the Pokemon. And and whatever his other fusion material card is. I like him so much so that when I was younger, I actually even drew him. I was a pretty super lonely kid at this point. I had just moved to a new country, and I was kind of just getting adjusted to everything. And one of the main constants in my life at that point was Yu-Gi-Oh! And my best friend at the time. So I used to spend a lot of time just hanging out with him, playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Or in our case, because we were poor, Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards that we actually drew up ourselves. But seeing as how he was a couple of years older than me, we actually didn't go to the same school. So I actually was really lonely when I was actually in school, and I was bullied quite a lot. So on my off time, whenever I was hanging out with my actual friend, I would sort of just draw random things. And one of the things I ended up drawing was I had these set of like OCs that would, play Yu-Gi-Oh! Together, basically a rip-off. Like, I ripped off the actual card game, and then I ripped off the actual characters that play the game. But they had their own sort of environment and I would draw them up. And then one of the things I remember drawing was one of the characters' birthdays, and all his friends dressed up as all of his favorite cards, which for whatever reason were really bad cards, like Verbiage and Sparrow, card you're gonna see later on in this list, Thunder Yan Yan. I don't know what it was, I just really liked these random cards at that time. But it was just really nice. I mean, that's all I can really say. Other than that, he's kind of shit and nowhere near valuable. But I like having those nice memories with him, so that's always appreciated. Number 7, Maiden of the Aqua. So, after getting kind of sentimental with Verbiage and Sparrow, I'm just gonna be honest with you here. Maiden of the Aqua is just my card crush. Simple as that. I've never really used her. It's not like she's a horrible card. I mean, she has a decent effect that you don't need to bring out Gimme or Zilla in the Ocean. I don't even remember which one of the two it is. I just know she's got a decent effect, decent defenses, and there's just something about her that's, you know, really into. She's really cute and all, and I don't know, something about the cards I just really like. Number 6, Mythical Sand. Mythical Sand is yet another fusion card. She falls in the same boat as Verbiage and Sparrow, and I think she was even included in that set of drawings. That's when I said before, I think if there's another card that was also included in that set, I'm pretty sure she was. I've only really liked using these cards because of Sacred Cards, because they made Mythical Sand and Verbiage and Sparrow and a lot of those other, you know, fusion cards into just normal monsters that you can just kind of summon. Granted, they were high level, so you had to tribute for them, and tributing for a 1900 attack or 2100 attack in the case of Mythical Sand isn't the greatest, but it's still way better than having to fuse for them, you know? It's just pretty cool and simple card art. It's just such a shame that she's locked away behind having to fuse 2 pretty much random cards just to summon her and get 2100 attack. Mythical Sand, Aqua Dragon, and Sandwich are one of the first fusions I've ever summoned. They're one of the first fusions I ever liked. I think Aqua Dragon might have been the first one, because I vaguely remember when I played Eternal Duel of Soul for the very first time, trying to get out Aqua Dragon because I thought it was cool and I didn't know how fusions work, so I was trying to figure that out. But Mythical Sand reminds me of Botan from Yu Yu Hakusho, so she's way cooler than some chunky teal-ass dragon. Number 5, Skull Knight. Skull Knight is the 4th fusion monster on this list, and I can guarantee you he won't be the last one. He had a nice spotlight in my Sacred Cards playthrough, and I won't plug it this time, but unlike Mythical Sand and Verbiage and Sparrow, he's not exactly where my love from this card stems. It's a rather odd story, but it was from when I was a few years younger, finishing up college. It was towards the later half of my college career, so it was a lot less having fun with friends and doing young adult things, and it was more of trying to graduate and doing less fun young adult things. But to be honest, young adult things for most of my college career was playing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh with my high school friends. But unfortunately, our lives were changing a lot, and at this point in time, we weren't really, not even so much hanging out as much because we had other things to do, but we definitely didn't have time to play Yu-Gi-Oh with each other, which was a pretty big bummer for me. As I said earlier, I was always really bummed in younger when I was in that other country and I was, you know, going through school and getting bullied and all this stuff. All I ever really wanted was friends to play games with, specifically, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh, since, you know, that's all I fucking did when I was younger. So to actually grow up and then actually have these friends and have that kind of thing, it was great. But then to see that slowly go away, it kind of really sucked. But I don't really blame them. Like I said, our lives were changing, we were getting a lot busy. On top of that, Yu-Gi-Oh, the game itself, was in the middle of horrible power creep with, you know, Xyz running around and first turn kills and OTKs and all this other shit all over the place. It wasn't a great time to play Yu-Gi-Oh. Even in the sort of extent that we played it in, which was, you know, semi-competitively, we weren't like complete casuals but we weren't going to tournaments either. So, and I feel like this kind of happened to a lot of people around this time. But more importantly, what the main issue was that I would always find some sort of comfort in Yu-Gi-Oh! If it was either, playing it or watching it or talking about it with friends or whatnot. So to have that gone, as well as to have, those friends I was hanging out with be a little bit more distant, and then the event or the action or whatever you want to call it that we used to do together not be around either. It was kind of sad times. So after some sad dramatic event in my young adult life, some girl dumped me or something stupid like that, I was doing what I like doing a lot, just looking through my cards, and oftentimes I would find some comfort in that. And then I don't know what it was about this time that I managed to find this Skull Knight that I had, and I kind of just looked at him, and it just kind of struck me, and I was just like, I'm gonna build a deck with this, and he's gonna be good, and it's gonna be, somehow competitively viable, because I've always had this dream of making these random shitty cards competitively viable secretly, and then I'm gonna beat everyone, and then all my friends are gonna come back, and it's gonna be the best. Number 4, Dark Magician of Chaos. Dark Magician of Chaos is one of the most expensive cards I've ever used, bought, and loved. I believe so. I don't really buy a lot of cards in terms of, let me rephrase, I don't really buy a lot of expensive cards. Typically what I'll do is every so often when I get paid, I'll go through on Yu-Gi-Oh! Mint, now I think it's Trading Card Mint, and I'll look through whatever the latest pack, a latest booster set for Yu-Gi-Oh! Was, and I was just skimming through all the cards, typically picking out a bunch of normal cards. By normal I mean by rarity, and I'll just pick all the ones that look cool and that I might think might even be useful, and I just buy them, and then I do that every month, or not every month, every other month or so. But a long time ago when I was with my friends, I actually did buy this card. It's the most I've paid for a card. It's $20, I think. I paid for $20 for him and Blackluster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning, which was kind of a steal. But it was also in high school, and $20 was kind of a lot to me back then, so it's kind of like, whoa. But I bought it off from a good friend from my high school. It's kind of funny, because it was the first time I had ever found anyone that knew as much about Yu-Gi-Oh! As I did, and he was kind of just hiding there in plain sight. So it was really funny once I found out that he played, and he immediately felt like at my level. So that was kind of like, whoa, because there was never really sort of like, when it comes to gauging power, there was people that kind of knew, people that played. I put myself a little bit higher just because like I've been playing a lot and I knew a lot. I would look into it a lot, but I never put myself like super high, like guys that go to tournaments and stuff like that. So basically, I was just king of the noobs, is what I would consider myself. So it was nice seeing someone around those lines as well. Dark Magician of Chaos was placed in my version of a Chaos deck. It wasn't exactly the same Chaos decks that everyone was running. I actually think when I actually played him, Chaos decks were kind of mute point. Don't actually remember what the metagame was at the time, but it fit in perfectly with that deck because it was Chaos themed, and I was doing a lot of other things. There was mainly also BLS that was really good, but I just really liked Dark Magician of Chaos because I used him in 2006 Yu-Gi-Oh! Expert or World Championship. I forgot which one. I forgot what the actual name of the game is. But the GBA game. So I really like using that card. But it's all really funny considering all of that. I got this card from this guy, and then started dueling. I was actually at the time would actually make tournaments with my friends, mainly my friends and whoever else we could find, and we'd try to do actual dueling tournaments and duel against people. And I managed to get this guy to actually join a tournament that I created and hosted. This guy came in, beat everyone, made it up to me at the end, and wiped the floor with me. So I literally got Seto Kaibud fucking guy just came in, destroyed my battle city, and I walked out. Number 3, the Fiend Mega Cyber. I honestly feel like I should switch this with Dark Magician of Chaos, just because, you know, I've gone through a lot more with Dark Magician of Chaos, and I don't really like the Fiend Mega Cyber, but I mean, I've just really used him a lot. So by pure usage, he's in the 3rd spot on this list. Would have never thought he'd be in the top 3 of anything, but I've been using this card ever since I got him in a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh games, because it would always be that card. It's like in Pokemon, when there's certain Pokemon that you catch or you evolve mid-game that are actually just really good during that part of the game. Later on, maybe they're not as great, but in the early parts, they're just amazing. And that's kind of what Fiend Mega Cyber was for me. As soon as I would get that from a pack, it'd be cool, because, you know, as you progress throughout that game that you're playing, opponents start using stronger cards, but then you manage to have your Fiend Mega Cyber that lets you, you know, special summon him. Has that nice 2,200 attack. You know, if you're getting overrun by monsters, he can just come out. If you have an equipped skill, you can smack that on him. He can get nice and buff. If not, you can even just special summon him and then tribute him to summon something else. Or you can even just play a tuner or something like that. It's really cool. There are even times where I would just let myself get attacked or let my monster get destroyed or not even play a monster just so I can summon Fiend Mega Cyber next turn. I even managed to do it twice, which is cool. I managed to summon 2 Fiend Mega Cybers in one turn. Not that it really matters. It's not exactly a crazy combo or anything like that, but he's always had my back, which is really cool. Number 2, Whitehorn Dragon. This card was the card that actually trumped Dark Magician of Chaos first, so he knocked him off the first spot on my list way long ago. This was back when I was playing UVD, which is Yu-Gi-Oh! Virtual Desktop. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that. It's basically like Dueling Book or Dueling Network, except you had to download the program on your computer. You actually had to get this separate file that would pull in all the images from the cards, because otherwise they wouldn't have any images. And then because of the whole copyright thing, they weren't allowed to have images or something like that, so they had to pull in the images to actually have the cards. And they were like really shitty compressed images, which is really lame. But it was just like Dueling Book, just like Duel Network. You had to actually, you know, put the cards together, you had to draw the cards, you had to play the cards, you had to, you know, actually deduct your own life points, you had to do all this kind of stuff. But the main thing about it is that to actually play against someone, you had to know their IP address, so you had to share each other's IP addresses and then connect. It was really old. But in any case, Whitehorn Dragon. I'm not really too fond of dragons. I tend to try and stay away from them, just because they're so, you know, mainstream. Everyone likes dragons. I'm like, fuck that. I don't want to like a dragon. I like warriors. Warriors are cool. Fuck dragons. But Whitehorn Dragon was just a really cool card. And it's funny I say all this, and here I am with 2 dragons in my top 10 favorite monsters list, but I guess I don't even know myself anymore. But Whitehorn Dragon is just so fucking cool. I mean, he looks really cool. He is only 1 tribute, which is cool. You can bring him out. I like his effect in that you can remove spell cards from the graveyard, so it's not like, you know, it's something hard to pull off. Your opponent most likely plays spell cards, so it's pretty easy for you to just remove them. They can't use your spell cards. Granted, there's not too many situations where opponents bring spell cards back from the graveyard to their hand, aside from like spell books or, you know, other stuff like that. But removing them is cool. It's easy to get them, you know, in the graveyard. You just play, and your opponent will use spell cards. And he can come out, and he can, if you're lucky, he can have 3,700 attack just from 1 tribute. And I thought that was really cool. I've tried several times to build Whitehorn Dragon specific decks, you know, where it's trying to mill out spell cards from your opponent, which is apparently a lot harder than I thought, or just in general milling out. He combos well with like Destiny Hero Dasher. I can go into Destiny Draw, discard Dasher, draw 2 cards. Next turn, if I draw Whitehorn, I can just summon him using Dasher's effect. You know, stuff like that was really cool. I've tried all this stuff. I've even tried it recently in Duel Links, but yet I haven't really been able to make one that's been as awesome as I want it to be, just because, you know, once Whitehorn Dragon gets out there, can't really do much else except attack, which kind of sucks. He doesn't have any protection or anything like that. But in any case, I'm still trying to find a way to build the perfect Whitehorn Dragon deck, and I will someday. Number 1, Elemental Hero Absolute Zero. Elemental Hero Absolute Zero is my number 1 favorite card. He took down Dark Magician Chaos, or rather, he took down Whitehorn Dragon, who took down Dark Magician Chaos, and became my number 1 favorite card. I never would have thought I would say growing up, because I used to hate Elemental Heroes, as I said before. I didn't really care too much about fusions, but here I am with this guy on the top of my list. And it's actually funny because it's because of him that I actually started liking using Elemental Heroes. So I did say before that, you know, after watching GX and then the GX expansion in Duel Links, I started liking heroes, but I actually started liking heroes a little bit before that. Or maybe not so much as I do now, but I definitely started inkling way back when in like 2009, 2008 in one of the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds games. In those games, so 5Ds was all around, you know, motorcycles and dueling. They actually let you do that in the game, which is really cool. So you had to build a separate deck to play the story. You have to have your own writing deck, which is cool, or turbo deck, or whatever the hell they call it. And I managed to build this sort of deck which used Absolute Zero, which is really cool because you could, you know, go ahead and summon him, and it was just really cool because I would just throw him out, and it was, you know, it was a wrap from there. I mean, I started using him in the turbo duels, and he did really well. And then I started using him in the actual main deck for the main story, and you know that worked out really well. And I started trying to build a deck around him. And then afterwards, I actually went online, and I was trying to look to see if I can actually build this deck in real life. And I saw some sort of deck profile on some site where they interviewed some guy, you know, had his deck list, and they were talking about it. I was like, wow, this card's actually really good. I can build a deck about this. So I basically copied that guy's deck. I made a couple of alterations here and there, and then I just started using that deck, and it was fucking great. So right at the end of, you know, when me and my friends, we used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! We were growing up, we kind of stopped. Right at the end of that, we had like one last big bang. Kind of got most of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Out of us. We were playing, and we had kind of got into this height where, you know, everyone kind of started off playing like mediocre cards, and then every so often they would get better and better cards. And then we got into that peak where we were playing, and this was my peak with this deck, and it was the best. I had so much fun with this deck, with these cards. It was great, you know, and I had all these really nice memories, and it was nice to have this sort of closure after everything, you know, everything I've been through with Yu-Gi-Oh! And now having these friends that I play with, and to wrap up that whole sort of storyline, or that whole arc, or whatever you want to call it, of us playing together with, you know, this card. So because of all of that, I really like Elemental Hero Absolute Zero, and that's why it's my number 1 favorite card. And one of the things I even love more about him is that he's actually really useful. You know, 2500 attack, not that bad. You can infuse him with any hero, any water type, pretty easy. You know, combos well, just Miracle Fusion, bring him out. You can use him with Destiny heroes, which is great. You can use him with any heroes, which is really helpful. In addition to that, his effect, in my opinion, is amazing, but also not broken, which is really hard to say in Yu-Gi-Oh! But you know, just as soon as he leaves the field, he just Regekis your opponent's field, doesn't target, you don't have to worry about anything, he just wipes the field, which is great. But I mean, you're losing a monster. Now you have to fusion summon, so it's not like, you know, it's the greatest effect in the world. So it was just really, it's perfect. It just is my favorite card. But yeah, this is CurlyHairedHero, and that's been my top 10 favorite monster cards from Yu-Gi-Oh! Let me know down in the comments below what you think your favorite monsters are. Or if you want to just tell me my monsters suck ass. Stay fresh.